Okay, what on earth just happened? Well, since 5 of those 6 kills were against premiums, I can't exactly brag, but I did clutch a 3v1 where pretty much everything went as I calculated, so I figured this is a bit of a teaching opportunity if you're into that sort of thing. The beginning of the game is very simple. I'm basically just taking altitude to give my R27 ERs as much energy as possible while, clicking around on the radar screen to get a sense of where the high altitude opponents are because those are my top priority. I see this contact beelining straight down the middle of the map, so I take a pot shot, but an R77 gets there first, so I break lock in case I can reuse my R27. Now at this point, I see a bunch of missile trails heading in my direction, but my RWR is cold and none of them actually seem to be taking lead, so I just keep flying straight. From the way that they're flying, I can tell these are Phoenixes, so even if they start tracking at the last second, there's no way they have the maneuverability to actually hit me at this speed, so I'm not worried. Now I'm tracking this Su-30, and I use the missile cam on the R-27 that's still in the air to try to get a sense of what it's doing, but I see it's flying away from me, so I hold my fire for now. In the meantime, I see this other dot in the clouds that's flying perpendicular to me, so I quickly swap to the ET that I have specifically for this type of situation. Now, here is an important trick that you should try to use with IR missiles if you have the time. You can see that I get the lock, but I don't fire immediately. I just watch it for a moment, because I can see the lock circle sort of deviating from the actual dot of the aircraft, and this suggests that it's being distracted by something. And sure enough, the opponent is firing a missile. So I wait for it to clear the Seeker's FOV before relocking the plane itself, and now it seems to be tracking fine, so I fire. The Viggen doesn't flare. Maybe they think it's an ER, so they're trying to notch it, but, obviously that doesn't work against an AT, so that's kill number 1. My RWR is going off, and I take a look over in that direction, but I can't see what's firing at me, so I take a bit of a risk and just direct my focus at the Su-30. And to their credit, this pilot is very good at staying in the notch. My first ER goes for chaff, so I launch a second one, and that one also gets notched at the last moment. And this is where the fun begins. So you can see me consider firing an R-73 here, but I'm just too late on the draw, and at this point, I know I'm in trouble, so I'm immediately trying to form a defensive plan. First, I hit the Cobra button in case I need it later, and then my immediate priority is getting into a notch against the Su-30, because at this range, there's just no way I'm going to be able to outrun a rear aspect R-77. And this is also when that mystery RWR warning materializes in the form of an F-18, but luckily both of these guys are coming in from the same angle, so I can notch them both at the same time. And here I instinctively start pre-flaring, which actually ends up saving me from this AIM-9M from below that I didn't even see, and only then do I realize that there's also an F-14D in the mix, but thankfully it's at a very low energy state and can't keep up with me in this turn. So at this point I'm sort of ahead of all of my opponents, so I start forming a plan. I know the J-11 rates better than all of these other planes, even the Su-30, so I'm going to just keep turning in circles and try to reel them in one by one. So I just keep pre-flaring and pre-chaffing in case anyone tries to pull in for a missile shot, but at this point I'm already rapidly gaining on both the F-14 and Su-30, so I immediately decide to go on the offensive and try to simplify the situation as quickly as possible. I line up my turn so I can fire on the F-14 as I pull through for the Su-30, and I just barely manage to get a decent shot off on the Su-30 as well. And for their part, neither of these pilots really does anything to try to avoid my missiles, so just like that, it's a 1v1. However, I am in a huge amount of danger now because I've cashed in all of my speed to try to pull for these shots, so I'm basically stalled out directly in front of the F-18. Knowing this, I ripple off the last 2 R-73s as a deterrent to try to make the F-18 delay their approach for long enough to me to get a bit of speed, and it does seem to make the F-18 hesitate, which buys me just enough time to get into a defensive position to pull out of the nose as it tries to roll on top of me. And at this point, I just start pulling some super maneuverability bullshit and abuse my stronger engines to win the fight in 2 turns. And one more piece of advice before the end of the video. If you're looking to do missile combat at low altitude, it's generally best to actually be below multipath height if you don't want to just be a free kill. Thanks for watching.